I've never really understood the drive to do anything for money. I guess that's easy for me to say as I've always had money. I've heard people say, "You'll never get how desperate people can get until you know what it's like to really struggle." Well, yeah, I grew up with money, a lot of money. We never had to struggle for anything, unless you call trying to decide which car to take out on a Sunday or which living room to put the biggest Christmas tree in a struggle. My dad was born into money, just like his dad was before him. 3 generations back, the men of my line were company owners. That company was still going strong and was showing no signs of slowing down now that it was under my management. One thing my dad always cautioned me about while growing up was the downside of being wealthy. I remember asking him what he meant for the first time after my 8th birthday party. My parents had gone all out and turned our property into a sprawling circus/penny carnival. When my mom had asked me what I wanted for my birthday, I said to go to the circus. Well, she as always went completely over the top and literally turned my birthday into a 3-ringed circus. I was a pretty shy kid, and I only wanted my 2 close friends to go with, but of course my mom had invited practically the entire school and neighborhood. Everything was a networking opportunity or a chance to show off to her. My dad just seemed to go along with whatever Mom wanted when it came to the home stuff. Hosting fell into her domain, and she took it over completely. There was a ginormous table in our second dining room that ran the length of the entire room, and it was overflowing with presents. I remember staring at that table and wondering what I could possibly need all of those presents for. Clearly, I didn't want for anything, and I thought it was ridiculous that my mom had created a registry at an exclusive toy boutique for the party. Who does that? The party was a hit, but, well, I got to admit, I was kind of walking around in a fog. I didn't like being the center of attention. Anyway, back to that conversation with my dad. As I was wandering around, I found my dad in his study, and he invited me in, and he asked me why I wasn't with all the other kids running around outside. I shrugged my shoulders and said, "I don't know, I just don't feel like anyone here is really my friend." My dad looked at me thoughtfully for a moment, and I could see some sadness creep into his eyes. He told me that he was about to explain something to me that his father explained to him, and his father to him the generation before, and so forth and so forth. So I was intrigued. I was about to get let in on a family secret. Well, he told me that there is a downside to wealth, and that I was just now starting to see it. He said when you have a lot of money, there are very few people you can trust in the world. He talked about how you'd never know what somebody was after, but almost in every instance people would be nice to you to get something. Well, I already knew what he meant. I could see that my mom had only married my dad for his money. I could see that he knew that too. He talked about love and how much he longed for love in his younger days, but being rich, he only ever met girls who wanted him for his money. He traveled in wealthy circles, so he was only ever meeting one type of girl, those who wanted the money. He told me about how enamored he was with my mom when they met, how beautiful she was, and he admitted to knowing that she didn't truly love him, but he didn't care. He just wanted her. I could see the regret in his eyes when he thought about it. So as I am a grown man now, lying in a hospital bed with horrible burns to my face and upper body, I'm recalling that conversation with my father and seeing that I had become more like him than I cared to admit. I'd met a girl in boarding school that, much like my mother, was stunningly beautiful. She had the kind of beauty that was almost hard to look at. She came from money too, of course, although I was still in a whole different wealth bracket and she knew it. At first she played hard to get, but I knew her type. I knew all I had to do was wave a nice piece of jewelry in front of her and she'd come running. And that's exactly what happened. She tried her best to play the coy, aloof girl, but as soon as I started spoiling her with gifts, she was mine. She wanted the life. You know, the money, the parties, the jewels, the clothes, the company. I was blinded by her beauty at the time. I can see that now. The sad thing is, though, over the years, her beauty, it was just something else that I owned. The mystery was gone, and then all I could see was how ugly she was on the inside. I'd been smart, and I did get her to sign a prenup, but even still, I knew she could take me for a lot in a divorce, and she would drag it out and make it a miserable experience for everyone involved. I started noticing her taking more of an interest in the company the months leading up to my accident. She was suddenly paying attention to things that she had never even batted an eye at before. I was starting to get suspicious, not because of that, but because she was suddenly taking more of an interest in me as well. She seemed to always want to know where I was, who I was talking to, what I was doing. She had never been interested in that before. Well, I grabbed her phone one day to take a peek, and I saw that she had received numerous calls from an insurance company. I had friends in high places, so I was able to do a little digging, and I found out that she had taken out an additional insurance policy on me. She'd always been fiddling with the will. My lawyer contacted me asking why I was wanting to change the clause about the company and who its management fell to if something happened to me. I laughed, saying, "Why would I possibly do that?" Dan said he suspected as much, but he'd heard from a friend that my precious wife was doing her own digging and that she was looking into ways that would ensure she gained control of the company in the event of my death or disabling injury that meant that I could no longer work. Basically, my wife was trying to get me out of the picture so she could get control of the company. I can't say it shocked me at all. I knew she was bad for some time, I just didn't want to face it. Well, I went about my business, but I did hire a detective to follow my wife, and he sent me some pictures daily of where she was, what she was up to. She was, of course, cheating on me too, but I kind of knew that had been going on for years. We hadn't shared a bed since we were first married. As careful as I was, she still got the upper hand. One night, after working late at the office, I was heading down the stairs to the lobby and I heard a shuffling on the stairs behind me. I turned just in time to see a masked man throw something in my face. Instantly, I felt burning and dropped to the ground. The figure ran off into the darkness while I writhed on the ground in agony. I managed to reach my phone and I pressed 911. The paramedics arrived quickly and I was taken to the burn unit at the hospital. My burns were serious. They covered my face, neck, upper torso, and arms. I was in a lot of pain, but what hurt the most was that I instantly knew who was responsible. I contacted my detective and my lawyer, and I told them both that I needed proof that she'd hired the man from the stairs and that I needed my company protected. I signed a proxy replacement for myself while I recovered, and I wrote in the agreement that my wife was to have nothing whatsoever to do with the running of the company and wasn't even allowed inside the doors. Well, a mere 3 days later, my detective had come up with solid evidence that my wife had orchestrated the entire thing. Turned out her plan was to burn me to the point that I'd no longer be able to manage the company and would have to hand it over to her to manage. I laughed at that. It then struck me how stupid she was. I had to laugh at that too and say to myself, well, it's not like you married her for her brains. My wife was arrested, the company is protected, and a divorce is now underway. My assets are protected, but I'm still sad that I finally now really understand that talk my dad had with me that day. I've paid the ultimate price for being blinded by beauty. To watch more animated story videos like this, hit that subscribe button and tell us in the comments section what you thought about this story.